Hi, I'm John Nerrell, and welcome to the Mid-Career GPS podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your career and overwhelmed by what steps to take, I can help you. As an executive and career transition coach, I help my clients prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do to show up and find a job they love or love the job they have. It's time to start building your mid-career GPS. So let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. All right. So for today, I want you to buckle up, get yourself ready, because as we build your mid-career GPS today, we are going to talk about one of the most interesting and sometimes scary career topics out there. We're going to talk about networking. You know, it's that thing that you're quote unquote supposed to be doing, but sometimes often don't do as much. My goal for you today is to find a way to help you increase your capacity to network more genuinely and authentically than you are currently doing now. And if you think of yourself as an expert networker and you're listening to this podcast, then let's see if I can help you kind of fine tune maybe some things that you are doing to help build your network a little more strategically and intentionally. All right. Now, one of the things you can do to help network with a great group of people in a wonderful community is to join my private Facebook group. It is called Your Mid-Career GPS. The group is growing, and I would love for you to be a part of it. All you need to do is go to Facebook, search for Your Mid-Career GPS. There are 3 membership questions there that I'm going to need you to answer, and obviously agree to the rules of the private Facebook group. It's really just about creating a safe space for everybody and being supportive, but it is important that you do that. And then you'll get into the group and join this fantastic community of mid-career professionals who, like you, are all trying to figure out what's next. They're trying to identify what's their point B, whether it be a new job, an internal promotion, a greater opportunity to lead within their organization or somewhere else. But it is a really fantastic community with daily engagement and would love for you to be a part of it. Plus, it's a great opportunity to network. So find Your Mid-Career GPS on Facebook and come on in. All right. I also want to give a shout out to another fantastic review I had for the podcast. If you have not had a chance to do that, kindly go to wherever you listen, but specifically on Apple Podcasts, and leave me a 5-star rating and review. This review just really touched my heart. The review says, career moves can and will be daunting. John's podcasts provide clear steps and strategies to navigate and attain your goals with confidence and skills. Why would you not want to best prepare yourself in this competitive field? Thank you. Woohoo. I just love that name. So thank you so much there. And that's exactly what we're going to do today, is give you some tips to help you prepare how you can adapt or amend or create even a networking strategy for you that really feels like you. Now, I'm willing to bet you have probably received a ton of advice on how to network. Some of it you've liked, and some of it you thought there was no way in hell you were going to do it, right? And so in this episode, right, I want you to think about building a networking toolkit. So here's the first thing I want you to do. I want you to imagine taking everything you have ever heard about or learned about networking and just dump it on the table in front of you. Now, if you're driving, obviously don't do that, but just, kind of think as you're going along here. But I just want you to kind of see all of these thoughts and impressions that you have about networking in front of you. And if you've got pen and paper handy, then go ahead and pause this podcast for 2 minutes and just do a brain dump of all of these things that you've heard about networking. The reason why I want you to do that is I want you to get very clear about your thoughts around networking. Because one of the things I know as a coach as I help people move toward taking action in their career is that their thoughts generate some kind of feeling, which then creates an action which drives a result. So maybe you're somebody who loves meeting new people and networking completely energizes you. Or maybe you're someone where networking feels like an energetic drain and you have to gear yourself up for it. But one of the most common things I hear from anybody who is interested in coaching and working with me or people I currently work with is this comment that they've been told network is something they quote unquote should do, but they either don't know how to do it or they don't like doing it. Growing up, my mom told me that I needed to learn how to play golf because golf would help me in business, that deals were made on the golf course, and that if you learned how to play golf, you could have these business meetings out on the golf course. And I know there's a lot of you that do that, and kudos to you. But here's the thing: nobody wants to play golf with somebody who sucks at it. And I suck at it. If I am lucky to even hit the ball, I can't find it. Now, my short game when I played was, I would say for a beginner, it was good. But if you asked me to drive it down the fairway, more than likely I spent my time in the trees, right? It's the reason why I bowl, and I bowl at the level I do. I throw the ball, it comes back to me, and I do it pretty well. So it's all good in that regard, right? And interestingly, I've made a lot of great networking connections through the sport of bowling, which has been fantastic for me. That's the thing. You have to find where your people are. Where do you meet people? How do you engage? If golf's not for you, then it's something else. It's okay. Golf is not the only place, quote unquote, where you can network. So let's take a very honest look at your thoughts around networking and what you were told, be it in school or be it in your career, that you had to meet people. You needed a pitch, right? You needed an elevator speech that you could rattle off in 20 to 30 seconds and people knew exactly what you were going to offer them. You needed to collect as many names and business cards as you possibly could. Honestly, I think I am still working on the first two boxes of business cards I have when I launched my business full time 4 years ago, right? Or you needed to find that one great networking event where your people are and then go to 5 others that were just like it. All of that to me sounds super stressful. As you're listening to this, maybe you're feeling things kind of drop into the pit of your stomach, or maybe they're kind of coming up a little further up your stomach and being like, oh, that is just way too much for me to deal with. Look, let's face it, people do things they like. You've been told you should exercise. If you are someone who has a habitual exercise routine, chances are you do things you like. If you like to run, you are out there pounding roads and putting miles in each and every week. And if you hate running, the likelihood is you probably aren't going to do it. We do things we like to do. And if we don't like networking, or we've been to one networking event and we had a really bad experience, the likelihood is it's probably going to take a little while before you put yourself out there and go do something like that again. For those of you who are career professionals where you have stayed within the same organization or industry your entire career, even you have had to network on some level. It may not be the happy hour or the networking lunch, but you have had to network with people internally within your organization so they know who you are and what you do. But the question that has faced so many people over the past year as a result of the pandemic, hard to believe we are at a year anniversary of lockdown. And what we have learned over this past year is that for many people, their networks are exhausted or their networks have failed them. If you've been laid off, furloughed, terminated, downsized, let go, and you are actively looking for a job and you have gone to your network and you have asked them if they know of anybody, are there any positions within their company? Who can you connect me to? And you keep going to that well and that well is empty, you have exhausted and drained your network to a point they are no longer able to help you. And at that point, you are left with two decisions. One, you keep doing the same thing you've been doing. You're applying to jobs. You are applying for positions online. You are going back to those same people and touching base and seeing who else they know. Or you find ways to build your network, increase your knowledge economy and sufficiency, and start meeting new people. You know that I love putting information for you in the show notes to go and check out. And I've got several articles this episode that I'm going to put in there for you. One of them is called How to Get a Job Often, comes down to one elite personal asset, and many people still don't realize it, by Julia Freeland Fisher, the director of education at the Clayton Christensen Institute. And what I liked about this article was that in networking, you have to have that one personal asset. In my book, Show Up, 6 Strategies to Lead a More Energetic and Impactful Career, I talk about using your genius. Right? It's that one thing that you are known for and recognized for. It is that asset that you are going to take to a new company that they're going to be interested in hearing more about, because that asset is going to help them solve a particular problem. Now, the article goes on to say that at the end of 2019, which really isn't that long ago, research showed that 70% of all jobs are not published publicly on job sites. And as much as 80% of jobs are filled through personal and professional connections. As much as 80% of jobs are filled through personal and professional connections. You know how that happens? That happens by networking. That happens by meeting people. That happens by telling them who you are and what you do and how you can help them. LinkedIn CEO Jeff Weiner has dubbed this the network gap. And he goes on to say that unequal networks start early. Young adults from the top socioeconomic quartile report nearly double the number of non-familiar adults in their lives as their peers from the bottom quartile. And Jeff Weiner goes on to say, quote, people who are referred for a job are a whopping 9 times more likely to get it. Let that one sink in for a bit. If you're thinking about your career transition strategy and you are not networking, you need to figure out who needs to be the people in your network who can connect you. Growing up, I remember interviewing for positions and it was always talking to people, and you would hand them your resume because you had paper resumes, right? And you would hand them your resume and they would walk over to the HR person and they would put in a good word for you, or they would talk to your boss and hand them your resume and put in a good word for you. The only thing that changes here now is it's done electronically. Yes, many companies, and rightfully so, have to follow certain guidelines and laws and protocols that you still have to submit your resume or your application through their system. But it doesn't mean that somebody can't be on the lookout for it or pull it and take a look at it. Having someone who can advocate for you and what you do and why you would be an asset or a benefit to their company is such a bonus. We cannot overlook that. But that means you have to go for the ask. And it also means you have to go for the ask when it is the right time. When it comes to networking, nobody likes needy. Nobody likes greedy. I'm a huge fan of the Big Bang Theory. Leonard's mother wrote this book called Needy Baby, Greedy Baby. Nobody wants needy and greedy when it comes to networking. Nobody wants a taker, right? Where it's all about you. Networking is about serving your connections as best as you can. And there are online networking events. There will be more in-person networking events, hopefully within the next year. You have to find the networking venue that is best for you. There's a local networking event to where I am at. It is a very successful networking event that has been going on now for, I want to say, about 16, 17 years. And it's like speed dating, right? So there's about 50 people in the room. They get a minute, you get a minute, you collect the business card, you go on to somebody else. When I was single, I never liked speed dating, and I don't like speed networking either. I really want to take time to get to know somebody. And when there's a lot of pitching, it just seems really hard to get to know somebody in a minute. So I really like spending time with people and getting to know them. Is it a little slower? Yeah. Do I make more meaningful and intentional conversations? Uh-huh. Do I build my network with people who I love and cherish having them in it? You bet you. Absolutely. Right? So you've got to find the networking venue that is right for you. And Alan Collins, who is a networking expert, says pulling a good network together takes effort, sincerity, and time. I want to be really clear with you for a minute. If you are in career transition, if you are actively job seeking, if you are currently unemployed, I would strongly advise you against meeting somebody and say, "Hi, this is what I do. Can you give me a job?" It's a little much. You need to take time to build that relationship. Get to know them, get to know what they're looking for, get to know what they need. And then, as you do with any relationship, you will find a way to make the offer, to go for the ask. When you were dating, likelihood is whether you had quote unquote game or you didn't, you never walked up to someone and was like, "You want to go out?" You took a little bit of time to get to know them, to have a conversation, figure out whether or not you initially liked them or not before you were going to ask them out, be it for a coffee, dinner, lunch, whatever. Takes time. And I loved Alan Collins's quote there. Building a good network together takes effort, sincerity, and time. Just like I have helped you, I'm helping you build this mid-career GPS for you. You need a plan. You need a plan when it comes to networking. So whether this is a virtual event or an in-person event, do you go with somebody? Do you have a wingman, right? Do you have a partner in crime that you're going to this event with that, you have some signal and you're like, "All right, we're out of here," right? How do you navigate the room? What do you do when you're stuck talking to somebody and you don't want to talk to them anymore? There's always that one person. Don't be this person. There's always that one person at a networking event where they find that one person and they cling on to them and they think, if I just stand there and talk to this one person the whole night, I never have to feel uncomfortable, and it'll be a great night, and I'll get to know them over the course of an hour or 90 minutes. And they're just so exhausting. You can't think of a way to get away from them, right? So you need an exit strategy or you need a transition strategy. It might be, hey, I see somebody over on the other side of the room I need to go say hello to. I'll follow up and talk to you later. Or it's, I need to go use the restroom, right? Or it could be as simple as saying this. Hey, thanks so much. I've really enjoyed spending some time getting to talk to you. I came here to meet a few more people. And while I've enjoyed this conversation and we can follow up, I'm going to go meet some other people, but it's been really nice talking with you. Could you say that? I've said it. I realize I can be a little bit more direct. It might be the New Jersey in me, but I also believe that when we go to networking events, we need to serve, but we also need to get what we came for. Having a plan at a networking event means, what's a successful night look like for you? Is it getting a certain number of leads, making a certain number of connections, having an opportunity to follow up with 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 people afterward that you feel as if it made it worth your time being there? I coach clients on their networking strategies. And for some of them, because they are so averse to networking, I'll say to them, get one connection, get out of the room. If you made one really good connection that you could follow up with, then you're done. You have permission to leave. Oftentimes what they find is they stay. They stay in that Zoom room. They stay in that meeting because they realize once they have one conversation, the next one is easier. When you make a good networking connection, you've got to follow up. However you choose to follow it up, be it by email, by phone, inviting them to a virtual coffee or a quick meeting, put notes in your calendar about when you should follow up with people. If you have some kind of CRM or tracker that you are using, make sure that you are putting enough notes in there that let you know when you need to follow up with and why. And when you follow up with that person, give them a little bit more background in terms of why you are following up. I followed up with somebody today before this podcast. We had exchanged a couple messages on LinkedIn and we were going to meet for an initial conversation. And potentially this person may end up being a podcast guest. I don't know if they will or not, but like life happens, right? A few weeks had gone by. They said they were going to book a call. They didn't. I totally get that and respect that. When I followed up with them, I simply said, hey, hope you're doing well. I realize it's been a few weeks. No doubt this has been a really busy and crazy time. I reached out to connect with you because, and I gave that description. So now they don't have to go back and follow through all their messages or scroll up or look through other emails and things. I'm giving them the context for why we connected. Hey, are you still interested in meeting and having a call? I'd love to learn more about what you do. We have to help people out. That is part about being a good networking connection and serving. Let's not make it difficult for them to connect with us. Right. And I mentioned to you earlier about leaving the needy energy at the door. Do not bring that into a networking conversation. It reeks of desperation and nobody wants that. Right. Show up fully as yourself. How can you serve? What can you offer? Make an offer to connect them to somebody in your network. Networking and building those connections are about having a conversation that keeps going. It may not be every week. It may not even be every month, but they see your name. They recognize who you are and what you do. They remember a positive experience and they are more engaged to connect. Keep the conversations safe and on topic. Don't discuss hot button issues. Don't discuss controversial issues. Don't talk about things that are overly personal that might be offensive to somebody else. I say those things. I know I probably shouldn't have to say those things, but sometimes people can get pretty familiar right off the bat and they let those defenses down, and it can be a huge networking turnoff. There's a very popular networking organization that works for a lot of business owners. And I'm sure there are networking meetings of those that I have not been to that would be far better than the ones I have been at. But when you have to find your tribe, when you have to find where your people are, you go to a lot of networking events. And I literally remember saying to somebody afterwards, why are you pressuring me so much to join? And it involved a very hefty membership fee to join this organization. And they were going on and on and on. And I, like, in my mind, I'm saying to myself, why are you yelling at me? And why do you want my money so badly? And then the question I asked myself is, why do I want to be here? If you are asking yourself those questions at a networking event, then by all means, it's probably not the right group for you. Find the group that allows you to stretch just a little bit. If you are an accountant, an attorney, a teacher, a frontline worker, whatever it is that you do, there are plenty of networking opportunities for you to meet with people who do exactly what you do. Meetup.com is a great resource. Look at your local chamber of commerce and see what kind of networking events they have available. Look at Facebook groups, look at Google searches, look at LinkedIn. There are plenty of ways to find people who do what you do. And then also talk to people. Hey, do you have a good networking group that you like going to? And when you find that group, my recommendation, my advice, or my guidance to you is build your network one person at a time. Have individual conversations. Get to initially know somebody over the course of 5-10 minutes. See if there's any kind of potential alignment. And if there is, make a decision to follow up. Make an appointment to follow up, even if it's just a promise of saying, hey, I'll email you later on this week. I'd love to continue this conversation. Network in a way that feels genuine and authentic to you. And be patient. It is one of the hardest things, especially if your network has failed you or if your network is exhausted, to be patient and to let those conversations evolve over time. I'm going to give you a challenge here. If you are on LinkedIn, I want you to find 10 people who you would consider to be great networking connections for you. And I want you to connect with them. And when you do, send them that initial note, 300 characters or less. So you got that add a note button that's there. And send a brief message. Hi, I saw your profile and wanted to connect because I'd like to be a valuable connection for you. Sincerely, sign your name. If you send out 10 messages, 10 connection requests, maybe you'll get 3 or 4 back. Maybe you get a few more. It all depends on how active they are in LinkedIn. If they want to connect, they're looking. I mean, most of the time, people are pretty good about connecting. But here's what they'll do. They'll either connect and reply with a message, or they will just connect. And if they don't respond, that doesn't mean anything. They've already invited you into their network. Now is the opportunity for you to follow up again. And this time, follow up with a very specific question. What is it you like about? What made you to decide to go into this? What do you like working about? What do you like about working at said company? When we ask people questions, they are more likely to respond. Open-ended questions keep conversations going. It's a great way to build your network, get to know somebody. And the other thing is try not to focus on the outcome. Try not to focus on the outcome that every person you meet is going to be the best networking connection ever. Again, it's like dating. You didn't go out with somebody and be like, oh my gosh, I hope they marry me. Maybe they did, right? In my case, it took a lot of years before that happened. Here's the thing. We build relationships intentionally, and we do it over time. Networking is just building a professional relationship. Herminia Ibarra says, quote, networking is a lot like nutrition and fitness. We know what to do. The hard part is making it a top priority. If you send out 10 invitations today, send out 10 invitations tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. Maybe you give yourself the weekend off. But if you do that consistently, you will build your network so quickly over time. Now, please be careful to not flood a whole bunch of connection requests at a short amount of time. You may end up in LinkedIn purgatory, and that is not a good place to be, or LinkedIn jail. That is not a good place to be. So be mindful about who you're connecting with. They want to make sure you're not a bot. So do that very carefully and intentionally. But yeah, you could send 10, 20, 25 messages a day and you're going to be fine. But do it very intentionally. Think about what is your best networking strategy. Today was all about helping you figure out ways to build your network a little more intentionally, to do it one person at a time, to take the time to invest in growing that relationship and seeing where it goes. That's the power of networking. That's some of the most exciting work we get to do, is we get to meet people, tell them what we do, share with them our value, and make an offer to help them in some way. Make an offer to connect them, share a resource, whatever it might be. Networking at times can be frustrating because it's not very formulaic. I can't give you a script and say, if A happens, then B. And if B happens, then C. And if C wavers, then you go to E. I can't do that. It's not been my experience. To me, networking is very organic. It's very situational in terms of who I connect with. And find ways to connect with people in that way. You'll be glad you did. All right. We covered a lot. If you have any questions about networking, by all means, a couple of things you can do. So one, you can always connect with me. You know how to do that on social. There's information right there at the end. But obviously LinkedIn, John Nerrell, Instagram and Facebook at John Nerrell Coaching. But also don't forget to join my private Facebook group, Your Mid-Career GPS, a great opportunity to network with like-minded people in a safe space where we are all actively moving toward whatever is next in our career. I'd love to see you there in the group. Make it a great rest of the day. And go ahead. The challenge is go ahead and reach out to 10 people on LinkedIn today and send them a connection request and see how you can keep the conversation going. Build your network intentionally, one person at a time. Make it a great rest of the day. If you enjoyed today's show and don't want to miss an episode, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you usually listen. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you would leave me a rating and review to let me know what you think, to help others find this podcast and continue to bring you relevant and useful content to help you navigate what's next for your career. And if you're ready to create your mid-career GPS and get rid of the overwhelm so you can find the job you'll love or love the job you have, visit my website at johnnarrell.com for more information about joining my private Facebook group and scheduling a free consult with me so we can start building your mid-career GPS together. Don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn and follow me on social at John Narrell Coaching. I'll see you next time.